الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سار النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يوما بركبه. So the hadith tonight in collection Imam Muslim narrated to us by Abu Hurairah, and he tells us, and the theme is still the significance of invocation or dhikr, and the Prophet ﷺ was walking or was moving, traveling with a group of people. قال فمر بجبل اسمه جمدان, and he comes by, they travel by a mountain. It's close to Jeddah. You can look it up. His name is Jumdan, and this mountain kind of sits alone. And most mountains in Saudi Arabia, or in that part in the Hijaz, in the western coast of what today is Saudi Arabia, usually they come in a series of mountains, salasil, like they're clumped up. That is the same thing in Mecca. And Jumdan is just a mountain that kind of stands alone. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام, سيروا هذا جمدان سبق المفردون. So he said, keep on moving. This is the mountain of Jumdan. سبق المفردون. المفردون انفرد بالشيء. If someone does infirad, that means you stood alone, or you were unique at something. And that's the tafarrada, meaning the mutafarrid is someone who did something and no one else did it. He's the only one who did it. No one else was able to do it like that person. Right? So al-mufarrid, that's what it seems to mean. So the Sahaba understand Arabic. So when he said al-mufarridun, he means those who stand alone, or those who are unique, or those who do something that no one else is capable of doing. So they understood that, but they didn't know what he meant, alayhi salatu wasalam. They knew that there was obviously a message under this that he was trying to allude to. So they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, وَمَا الْمُفَرِّدُونَ? So what exactly do you mean? فَقَالَ الذاكرون الله كثيرا والذاكرات. Those who engage in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot, male and female. And he used both terms, alayhi salatu wasalam, the terminology that we find in the Quran, obviously, in other surahs. So the way he he said that because he looked at Jumdan, and it was a mountain that stood alone. It stood alone. It carried its own merit. It had its own its own presence. So the Prophet ﷺ, from seeing that, he pointed out that al-mufarridun, the people who stand alone, those who are unique, those who go that extra mile, Yawm al-Qiyamah are going to be ahead of everyone else. Because everyone is doing the same stuff. Like right now, we're all praying Isha. So I don't know if everyone reads the Quran. So how do you get ahead? How do you make sure Yawm al-Qiyamah that you don't wait as long as everyone else, that you don't get clogged up at the doors, and you don't have to be, you want to get ahead. How do you get ahead? The Prophet ﷺ said, al-mufarridun do. Those who always do, who stand alone, who are unique, who do something that others don't. So the Sahaba wanted to know the concept is still there, by the way. Like if you stand alone in anything, like if you do something that no one else is doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will get ahead. So it's understood, the concept is the same. It's just the Sahaba radiallahu anhu wanted to know from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam specifically who he had in mind when he said that. And his answer was الذاكرون الله كثيرا والذاكرات. Those who always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who have the capability of to always speak of Allah, to always utter His name and speak of His grace and sing His praise and speak about Him to others and to thyself. This is what Islam is built upon. Once that piece is removed, then the rest of it doesn't really hold its own. Once you remove that piece from the heart of a Muslim or the tongue of a Muslim, whatever is left is a skeleton of what Islam actually was meant to be. And that's why a lot of people struggle with the deen. Because they may perform certain acts of worship and rituals, they may do certain things, but they don't have that dhikr piece. They're not speaking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they're sitting alone, it's not Allah who's on their mind. They're not speaking about Him. He's not in the heart, and He's not on the tongue, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that piece will end up taking you in Him. But this is a positive hadith, so my pessimism needs to be properly regulated for this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ talked about sabq. Sabq is getting ahead. Getting ahead. You want to get ahead? Be a mufarrid. Be a dhakir lillah subhanahu wa ta'ala kathira. Be someone who speaks of Allah a lot, and you'll find yourself ahead of the group. You'll stand alone يوم القيامة. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that beautiful stance. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سار رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوما بركبه فمر بجبل اسمه جمدان فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام سيروا هذا جمدان سبق المفردون. فقلنا يا رسول الله وما المفردون؟ قال الذاكرون الله كثيرا والذاكرات. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. جزاكم الله خير. بارك الله فيكم. Inshallah, Sheikh Arij will be giving the Khaterah out on Tuesdays. Inshallah, he'll bless us with his it's a treat for all of us.